Hey everybody, hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the Word. And today that word is unfinished. Unfinished. Now, you ever gotten to the end of a puzzle and go and look, you're missing a piece? At least in that picture, the piece is right there. But how many times we are so close to finishing what we've promised and what we said we were going to do, but we just come up a little short. Well, the thing is that when we tell God we're going to do something, He's not going to forget. Now, you may tell your parents something, may tell your spouse something, may tell your kids, your grandkids, your boss, your friends, whatever. You may tell them something and they forget, but God will never forget. And especially those times that we make promises and vows to Him. We've been talking about this in our Wednesday night Bible study. Just kind of lines up perfectly here in Genesis. When was the beginning of Israel, and talking about the vision of the angels, the visions of the ladder, the staircase, back and forth where the angels are going up and down, and the first time that Jacob is there at Bethel, and remember he renames it Bethel, and then he spends all that time outside, and remember is after that he made a vow that he was going to follow God, and if God does all these things, he brings me back, then I will. Well, here's the key. He has yet to fulfill his vow, but God is about to remind him. Today, Genesis chapter 35. Let's look at the first 4 verses of a chapter that is filled with a lot of other information. You keep on reading through the chapter and you'll see the death, the death of 3 loved ones and people close to him. And then you see all 12 sons that are listed, and it's kind of the end of one age and moving into a different storyline. But here today, let's look at these first 4 verses today, Genesis 35. Then God said to Jacob, "Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau, your brother." And Jacob said to his household and all who were with him, "Put away the foreign gods that are among you. Purify yourselves and change your garments. Then let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make an altar there to God, who answered me in the day of my distress and has been with me in the way which I have gone." So they gave Jacob all the foreign gods which were in their hands, and the earrings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the terebinth tree, which was by Shechem. Now, there's 2 things I would say that are unfinished, to use that word today. The first was simply his vow was unfinished. What he had promised he would do, he promised God that he would do more than 20 years earlier. And I mean, really, time has continued to move on because he's been back in the region for quite some time, and it doesn't seem that he's made his way there. Now, God gives him specific instructions. The only time we see one of the patriarchs being commanded to build an altar, but he does it, and he does it obediently. So first unfinished was the fact that he hadn't fulfilled his vow. The second unfinished part, I believe, was the fact that he wasn't serving only God. You see, as you look, he says, well, hey, our whole household, you need to get rid of the foreign gods, and you need to get rid of all those things before we go to Bethel. Now, have you ever just stopped to think about that? That Israel always, the nation of Israel, from the time they left Egypt, they always struggled with idolatry. And it took a long time for God to kind of cure them of especially the big man-made golden images, and a long time to get that out of their mind and out of their mentality. Now, it's never totally eradicated because even today, right, we are the almighty dollar and money and power and all those things. They are gods as well. But specifically, these foreign gods, these foreign images and rituals and things that were all these things that were associated with them. It seems that it was even a problem for not Israel the nation, but Israel the man, Jacob, and his family. And it's interesting that he ends up burying Rachel. And one commentator said, well, look, he buried many things. He buried his mother's nurse. He buries his father, and then his beloved wife, Rachel, right? The one that he really loved. He buries them all, but he also buries those foreign gods. Now, it's something that's going to come back in their future for sure. But I believe part of the unfinished part is that, yes, Jacob had vowed to do all these things, and he had failed to fulfill the part of coming back and serving God. And part of that was not just physically coming back to Bethel, it was spiritually coming back to God. Spiritually doing away with the things that had happened in the past. Spiritually doing away with the foreign gods, and doing away with the foreign rituals and whatever else that, even if Jacob didn't participate in it, that his family did, and those that were in his household did. And some of the jewelry and earrings and things associated with it could be even from the previous chapter and all that happened surrounding Dinah. But regardless of the reason, at the heart of it was a declaration from God that Jacob needed to fulfill his declaration of allegiance to God. I wonder how many of us have unfinished business with God in that same sense. That God has told us what we need to do. We even declare, God, if you'll get me through this, if you'll answer this one prayer, if you'll get me this job, if you'll get me this, and we'll try to put God in a box and say, well, if you'll do that, then I'll serve you. Then I'll be at church every Sunday. Then I'll give more, tithe more, witness more, all those things. But yet, it's part of the thing that God has fulfilled his end. What about us? What are we doing to finish the promises that we've made to God? His promises are going to be fulfilled. But what have you promised to God? When you were born again, did you not say that you wanted to make him Lord of your life? That you wanted him to rule and reign in every part? And so every day of our life is God kind of coming to us and saying, are you going to fulfill that vow today? Do you remember what you told me you were going to do? Do you remember what you told me you wanted me to be? Today, I think if we look deep within, we'll find out that Jacob was not the only one with unfinished business. Today, you don't have to finish it today, but why don't we start towards closing that gap of finishing what we have promised to do to God and what we have promised to do for him and for his glory. Today, let's leave no task, no job unfinished. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.